What if the universe isn't some random cosmic accident? What if it's actually a design? And what if the instruction manual for that design has been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years? Well, today we're going to dive into some pretty fascinating source material that makes exactly that claim, that ancient texts are really one big integrated message from an intelligence that exists completely outside of our time. This quote right here, it really sets the stage for everything we're about to explore. The idea is that what we see and touch, what feels so solid and real, is just a shadow, a projection from a much, much larger reality. And what's wild is that this isn't just an ancient idea. It's a concept that, believe it or not, echoes in modern physics. Okay, so here's the absolute core of the argument from the source material. It's that the Bible isn't just a jumble of books written over centuries. Nope. The idea is that it's one single, perfectly crafted message. And every single detail, we're talking every number, every name, every place, was put there on purpose by a designer who already knew everything that was going to happen. All right, so to really get our heads around this, we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the supposed message itself, left in the text. Then, we'll try to decode the creation story using a modern science lens. After that, we'll see how this view challenges big ideas like gravity and Darwin. And we'll wrap up with the big one. Is our universe actually a simulation? First up, a message outside time. So let's start with the message itself. The claim here is that the designer actually left clues, kind of like a signature, baked right into the original Hebrew language of the text. Take a look at this word, Elohim. It's the Hebrew noun for God. Now, here's where it gets weird. The im at the end makes it plural, meaning three or more, but it's almost always used with a singular verb. The source argues this isn't some ancient typo. It's a deliberate puzzle, a clue pointing to a designer who is somehow many and one at the exact same time. Okay, let's keep building on that. Section 2 is all about decoding the creation story itself. The perspective here isn't about literal 24-hour days. Instead, it reimagines those days as a sequence describing fundamental physics. We're talking everything from chaos theory to the birth of atoms. This is a perfect example of that reinterpretation. You've got the Hebrew words for evening, erev, and morning, boker. The argument is they mean more than just night and day. Erev is linked to disorder, randomness, basically high entropy or chaos. Boker, on the other hand, means order is emerging. Things are becoming clear, low entropy. So each day of creation is actually a step moving the universe from total chaos towards structure and order. And get this, on day 1, the famous line, "Let there be light," is connected to something straight out of quantum physics. See, when a particle and its antiparticle collide, they annihilate each other, and poof, out comes a photon, a particle of pure light. The source suggests this is the actual mechanism being described for creating light from, well, nothing. So, okay, matter exists now, but what is it, really? The source zeroes in on the atom. And that brings us to this absolutely massive number, 10 to the 15th power. That number represents the difference in size between an entire atom and the tiny little nucleus at its center. It's almost all empty space. But a number like that, it's just too big to wrap your head around, right? So what does that incredible emptiness actually feel like? Well, the source gives this incredible analogy. Think about it this way. That number is the same ratio as 1 single second compared to 30 million years. That's the level of emptiness inside every solid object around you. It's just mind-boggling. Which leads to a pretty obvious question, right? If everything is that empty, why does this desk I'm touching feel so solid? The answer, according to the source, is that it's all an electrical simulation, a virtual thing. That feeling of solid isn't you touching atoms, it's the electrical fields of your atoms repelling the electrical fields of the desk's atoms. It's a force field, a virtual experience. All right, so if reality itself is just a virtual illusion, that opens the door to questioning some really big ideas. And that's exactly what our third section is about, challenging two absolute cornerstones of modern science, gravity and Darwin. So, to make its case against gravity being the dominant force, the source uses a scale model. Let's try it. Imagine the sun is a speck of dust, just 1/100th of an inch wide. On that scale, the Earth is only an inch away. Our entire solar system? It would fit in a circle about 3 feet wide. Now, where's the next closest star? It's another speck of dust, 4.5 miles away. The universe is just shockingly empty. And this is where the math comes in. And it's pretty stunning. Gravity is just ridiculously weak compared to electromagnetism. We're talking weaker by a 1 followed by 38 zeros. It's not even a contest. The argument is that with stars being so incredibly far apart, like we just saw, the pull of gravity is basically a non-player on the galactic stage. So here's the kicker. The source points out that 99.9% of the known universe is actually plasma, which is basically an electrified gas. And plasma is governed by, you guessed it, electromagnetism, that super strong force, not weak old gravity. In fact, it's argued that you can actually model the formation of entire galaxies in a lab using nothing but electromagnetic fields. And it's not just gravity in the crosshairs. The source also takes aim at Darwinism. The argument is kind of threefold. First, DNA. It's presented as this incredibly complex 3 out of 4 error-correcting code. Way too sophisticated, the argument goes, to be an accident. Second, where did the information in DNA come from to begin with? Darwinism explains how it changes, but not its origin. And third, you have this idea of irreducible complexity. Think of a mousetrap. You can't build it piece by piece. It only works when all the parts are there at once. The claim is that tiny biological machines are the same way, refuting the idea of gradual evolution. Okay, deep breath, because this brings us to our final and most mind-bending section. This is where all these different ideas, the codes in the text, the weirdness of quantum physics, the challenges to cosmology, all of it comes together to paint a truly radical picture of what our reality actually is. So, we know from 20th century science that our universe is finite. It's not infinitely old, it had a beginning. But what's really fascinating is that we've also discovered it's finite in the other direction. There's a limit to how small you can go. You can't just keep cutting things in half forever. Eventually, you hit what's called the Planck wall. And if there's a smallest possible piece of reality, what does that sound like? It sounds an awful lot like a pixel. It implies our universe is, at its most basic level, digital. Oh, but it gets even weirder. When you get down to that fundamental level, subatomic particles do something that just breaks our brains. They lose something called locality. An object becomes non-local, which means it can be mathematically proven to be everywhere in the universe at the same time. Yeah, at that point, our entire concept of here versus there just completely falls apart. And look at this. This is where physics is today. The current thinking is that we live in a universe with at least 10 dimensions. We experience 4 of them, right? Length, width, depth, and time. But the other 6? They're thought to be curled up incredibly tiny, way smaller than we can detect. And here's the wild part noted by the source. A sage from the 12th century, just by studying the book of Genesis, apparently came to the exact same conclusion about 10 dimensions. So let's put it all together. Our universe is finite. It's digital at its most fundamental level. It has more dimensions than we can even perceive. What do you call something like that? The source pulls no punches with its conclusion. We live in a finite, digital, simulated universe. And that really brings us to the final question. The whole argument we've just explored paints a picture of our reality as a virtual one, just a shadow of something bigger. It completely upends our most basic ideas about what it means to be alive. So I'll leave you with this to think about. If any of this were true, if we really are living in a simulation, what is the most profound implication of that idea for you?